Welcome to our very special cooking demonstration. This cruise we have on board our guest chef, Chef Daniel Grobnik. He's originally from Austria and he is now living and working in Singapore at the only Reliance Chateau institution in Singapore. He's a chef here at St. Pierre. So, welcome Daniel, chef. It's always nice to have guest chefs on board because they pass on their ideas, need fresh flavors, everything. It's been really nice working with you. He's been with us now for 2 days in the galley. Tonight we're going to feature his dishes on the menu and he's going to show you how to make one of them. And then tomorrow, please, again at 11:15 we have cooking demo part 2. So over to you, chef. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much to Silversea for inviting me here and also giving me the opportunity to do something like that for all of you. Like Chef said before, I'm from St. Pierre restaurant in Singapore, and this is one of the major dishes we have on the menu, like our custom, basically our signature dish, together with the cod, which you could try as well tonight at the dinner at the main dining room. So we probably start with the puree. What it is going to be a French pigeon roasted. What we do in the restaurant, we sous vide, which means low temperature cooking in a water bath. I cannot really show you that here right now, but I can show you a technique you can use at home as well, which makes it much easier for you to cook it the same way and to get the same result as well. So what we do is we make the parsnip puree first of all, and it's a Tahitian vanilla spiced parsnip puree. For that we need obviously a parsnip. Okay, what we do is we're just gonna peel it. Once we peel it, we slice it very thinly on the mandolin or on a Japanese slicer or a meat slicer or any kind of slicer you have at home. That would be like a Japanese mandolin. It's just basically a blade, like a meat slicer or a normal slicer. You slice it very thinly. The most important one on this one is that all the slices are very even. Because if the slices are very even, they cook evenly, you get the most flavor out of every single piece. And this is what we're trying to achieve, is to have every single dish, every single time you come to the restaurant, it tastes exactly the same. So quality for us is very important. So what we do with that is, we just slice it. Like this. And what we do, we put it in a vacuum bag or in a plastic bag. We seal it at 0 atmosphere, which means you just take all the air out of the bag. And this increases the flavor. I can't really do that here right now, so I just show you. We put it in a pan. Put it in a pan and then we add some milk. So this is going to be the parsnip milk, which we use for the puree. So we add some milk, some sea salt, or normal salt will do, whatever you're more comfortable with. You can use black Hawaiian sea salt if you like the flavor. You can use smoked sea salt. You can use even a bit of sugar if you like it very sweet. This particular parsnip milk is very, very nice. You can use it for cereal in the morning as well. The most important thing is that it's just spoiled very, very fast. So you have to infuse it for 24 hours to get the most flavor out of it. But then you have to eat it or finish it basically in the next 12 to 14 hours. Because of the protein in the parsnip and the milk, obviously, it's getting rancid very, very fast. So you use it, you cook it, you use it, and that's it. So we let this on the stove, we infuse it for a while. Usually it's infused for 10 minutes at 100 degrees, and then we cool it down and infuse it for another 24 hours in an ice bath. Obviously, we don't really have the time here, and I don't want to keep you here for 2 days just to finish one cooking demonstration. We do this the fast version, or the TV style version, let's say. Okay? So, this one is on the stove. For the puree, it's exactly the same principle. We slice the parsnip on a mandolin, or you can slice it either way. You can slice it in dices, or whatever is more comfortable for you. The most important thing, like I said just now, is everything has to be the same size because of the cooking temperature. The cooking temperature for this one is 3 to 4 hours at 100 degrees. And if all the slices are the same size, they cook evenly. And that's the most important one. You want the small ones. You don't want the small ones to overcook and the big ones not to cook. Because if you blitz it, it's gonna get grainy. And by doing that, you just slice all at the same size. This is why we use the mandolin, because human nature, obviously, we are not like machines and robots. It's very difficult to slice a parsnip, which is very hard, exactly the same size. So this is why we do it with the mandolin. If you do use the mandolin, please be very, very, very careful. Always hold it at the far end if you can. If you do like your fingers, please follow these simple instructions, okay? Then for that one, it's the same thing. We put it in a pot. Actually, we put it in the vacuum bag, like I just said before. We put it in the vacuum bag together with some, sorry, huh? We put it in a vacuum bag it again at 0 atmosphere. For that particular one, we also need to add the vanilla. This is the Pigeon vanilla, one of the best vanillas in the world. The more better one would be Bora Bora vanilla, which is quite next to each other anyway. We like to use that one because it's just giving you an extreme nice vanilla flavor. Vanilla is a very delicate flavor, it's a spice basically. It's a very, very delicate flavor and it goes with almost anything. Okay? So we cook this down until it's a puree. Obviously the same thing like I just said before. Usually it takes 2 to 3 hours, sometimes 4, it depends how hard the parsnip is, to cook the whole thing. So we do it the fast version again. Since this is all infusing and cooking and we really have to wait for it, I'm just gonna start on the pigeon. This is French pigeon. Okay. We got lucky on this cruise because we had a few pigeons flying by and I asked the captain to catch it for us. And yeah, he did really a good job and I really appreciate that very, very much. The only problem is that by catching it, they actually knock it a bit hard and they knock out the bones so it comes like this, you know. Okay? But like I said, we very, very appreciate that the captain did this little task for us. Okay, so this one would be done right now, a fast version. What you would have to do at home is, you take it out from the milk or from the water, whatever you would like to cook it in, put it in a bar blender or any kind of mixer you have at home to make a milkshake, your ice cream or whatever you have at home to blitz something. You could even use a bar blitzer like the hand blender you usually have and blitz it very, very, very smooth. That's basically everything. You just leave it on the side and cool it down in ice as soon as you can. Like I mentioned before, if you eat it right away, of course you can keep it warm, but if you keep it for the next day or even the day after, just keep it on ice and cool it down as soon as you can. Then also, if you would keep it the next day, the flavor would get a bit stronger and you infuse it a bit more, and this is what you really want. You want a nice, subtle vanilla parsnip flavor. Together with the pigeon is a bit gamey, and whoever likes gamey food, I really, really, really do like gamey food. Living in Singapore for quite some time, there's obviously no deer and no elk running around, so you kind of have to deal with the situation. And yeah, right now I show you how to trim the pigeon. It's very easy, usually it would come like this. Obviously with the head on and a few feathers and the wings as well. So, like I said, the captain did a very good job and he made working for us in the kitchen, we made it very, very, very easy. So what we do is you have the left wing and the right wing. Sometimes it comes only with the left, it depends. You just cut away the wings, like this one, and the legs. If you're really uncertain and you want to do this at home, I probably think you can ask your butcher or whoever you trust in a convenience store. They could definitely debone it for you and help you on that one. It's not a very difficult one, but if you're not really sure, you're just scared to destroy the beautiful piece of meat, just please ask the butcher to help you on that one. Then we just cut away the skin. There's a little bone in there, we call it the wishbone. It's like the collarbone on here. You just have to cut it out because if you cook it and you eat it and you're not aware of it, it can stuck in your throat and it's quite uncomfortable. Especially in a boat like this if it rocks left and right. So, yes. Okay, all the offcuts or trimmings which you have here right now, we're making a shear out of it, basically a stock. What it is, it's nothing else than all the offcuts and all the things you don't want to eat or you want to eat, but you need to make a sauce obviously with something. So what we do is we keep all the trimmings, and for us at the restaurant we try it many, many different ways. For us in the restaurant, the wings and the legs give you the most flavor, not so much the bones. In the very olden days, they used to cook shoes and stocks for hours and hours and hours. But the problem is, if you cook the bones of the carcass of the entire animal, be it veal, beef, pork, any kind of animal you want to make a sauce of, what we say is you kind of take the soul out of the bone, which means it gets very, very glutinous, very sticky. And this is what you don't want. You don't want a sauce where you can stick your spoon in and it just stands in there like that. What you want is a very, very flavorful, even runny. It doesn't really matter if it's not too reduced, because all we actually want to create here, and this is why we all eat and we go out and eat, is because of the flavor. We want to eat something that makes you feel good. And it doesn't really make me feel good if I have a spoonful of sauce in my mouth and it's full of flour or it's full of glutinous of the bone. So what we do is we only use the legs and the wings because this gives you the most flavor. We roast it in the oven, or you can roast it in the pan if you don't want to use an oven. There's not really a time limit, obviously, because it depends how high you roast it. And just to a nice color, then you deglaze it or fill it up. Thank you very much. You fill it up with red wine. We don't use tomato paste because it changes the flavor of the product. We want the pure pigeon, pork, veal, any kind of thing, the pure flavor. So back to the pigeon, okay? So you have now the two breasts, back and front, with the fillet in front. This one here as well. Back and front. Then what we do is we season it on the inside, on both sides, with sea salt or any other salt. Then ground pepper, a twig of thyme, and a slice of garlic. And then we wrap it in cling film. If I can find one. So for the garlic, you just need to slice it very, very lightly, or cut it in half also can, or crush it, to release the etheric oils from the garlic. You put it inside, a bit of butter, then on top of each other like that, and then you wrap it in cling film. Excuse me, do we have a plastic wrap or cling film here somewhere? Thank you very much. Okay, so you have like a little pigeon sandwich in a way. You keep it on the side. This one I cannot really do the stock now, like what I said before, it takes like 8 hours to make it, so I put it on the side. Alright, so the next thing is we have the sweet potato balls. You can do balls, you can do cubes, you can do triangles, hexagrams, whatever you're fancying. Thank you very much. Thank you. Just wrap the pigeon really quick. So you can do that at home exactly the same way. You just use a plastic wrap. You wrap it quite tight. Make a knot on each end. And then you have to kind of marinate it like that. It would be nice if you could marinate it maybe for 6 to 8 hours, just to get the garlic flavor out and the thyme flavor. In the fridge, obviously, otherwise it would spoil, because pigeon is like a poultry, very high in proteins, and we don't want to have like salmonella and stuff like that when you cook at home for friends or even in the restaurant. So then you need a lot of water. Okay, then all you need is like a pot of water. You don't need to season it at all, since the flavor doesn't go through the plastic. All you need is to keep it at a temperature at between 65 to 70 degrees, which is quite a big range, but what you want is you just want to poach it slightly. So the outside is cooked, the inside is still medium rare or even rare, and then we sear it on each side of the skin, and this is how we also serve it in the restaurant. Since the breast itself has not really a lot of fat and it's a very, very lean meat, you don't want to cook it too far. It becomes very dry, it becomes not very interesting to eat, because obviously all you want is the nice gamey pigeon flavor. As for the sweet potato, You can use any kind of sweet potato. You can use Japanese yam, you can use the orange sweet potato, white sweet potato, whatever you can find, obviously, at your hometown. You can use normal potato as well. You can use turnips, sweet, any kind of root vegetable will do. We use sweet potato because it just accomplishes the flavor of the pigeon. Because pigeon is very gamey, the parsnip is very earthy in a way. The sweet potato gives you a nice settled potato and sweet kind of tasty flavor. So all you need to do is just cut it in half. Then we have this fancy thing, it's called a Parisian scoop. All it is, it just makes balls of something. It's very, yeah. So all you do is you just turn it around the thing. You can do that with any kind of vegetable. It works really with everything. It even works with butter. If you have cold butter and you want to make a fancy breakfast, you just use this one for the butter. Since it is a potato, you have to be a bit careful, obviously, because potato gets brown very, very fast. So we keep it in water. Or we have a vegetable stock here with a bit of butter. Vegetable stock is nothing else than water flavored with vegetables. You can use any kind of vegetables. Obviously, if you want to use it with sweet potato, you have to counterbalance the sweetness, maybe with a bit of onion. A bit more onion, a bit more root vegetables, otherwise it may get just too sweet. You have a ratio of 2 to 1, which means 2 root vegetables, 1 onion vegetable. You can use leek as well, leek, shallots, anything like that. But at the end of the day, it's not really so much what I say, it's more about what you like to eat. This is all what it's about. You like to have it more spicy, you can change all the recipes in more spicy. You like it more sweet, please go for it, if this is what your palate is all about. Okay, for the sweet potato balls, like we said, now we boil them already. All we need to do is basically cook it. So just put it in the pan with the onion stock, a bit of thyme. I like to use garlic. Where I come from, garlic is like a staple kind of thing. Everything has to have garlic. It's not so nice if you go out afterwards, you know, but you just kind of flush it down with a nice glass of wine. And the last thing we need to do for the whole dish is the onion, caramelized pearl onions. You can use shallots, it's not a problem at all. All it is you have a shallot, banana shallot or normal French round shallots. Even onions would work as well. You just have to trim off the tips. Trim off the tip and kind of go a bit under the skin and make it so it's like a nice round or oval kind of shape. All you want is to get the silver skin off, because this is the one that sticks in your teeth. Okay. And then obviously, if you do that in advance, you can use the skin and all the peelings and everything to make your stock, because the skin of everything is where the flavor lies. It's not so much the actual fruit or vegetables, it's all in the skin. Your tomatoes, your garlic obviously, your onions, your carrots, if you peel them, like I did with the parsnip, you can use that one for the skin, for the stock. Okay, so now you have this nice little onion, like this. I prepped a few other ones already, so we're using the pearl onions for that one. And all it is the pearl onions, then we sauté them, we caramelize them nicely. Since onion have a very high content of sugar, which you wouldn't believe obviously, because usually onions, you peel them, you cut them, it always makes us cry. Every single one of us. Always say, why do chefs not cry when they cut onions? It's not true, we all cry, but because we cut our finger. And it's a bit, it's a bit different. The only recipe I found so far, if I slice onions or cut onions, is you have to kind of stay away from it, and the ventilation needs to come from the back, away from you. It doesn't help if you put water in your mouth, it doesn't help if you put the bread in your mouth and all these kind of fancy, old school ways. I tried many different ones and people used to laugh at me, but for me the only reason not to cry is to stay away from the onion as far as you can and let the ventilation go away from you. In front of a window, for example, will work very well. Okay, now the water is boiling. Simmering water is about 70 degrees, so we are almost there. What we do is we drop the pigeon for about, I would say 2.5 minutes at the most. You just leave it in there and let it kind of poach. It's not really cooking, it's more like a poaching. Okay? Then we have the sweet potato balls are gonna be cooked in a minute, hopefully. last thing we have to do is, like I said, the pearl onions. Since we cut them already and we sliced them already, we just need to dry them off. This one is probably the most difficult one. Caramelizing the onions, you need a medium-high heat, I would say. It's a bit difficult to understand what medium-high is, but it has to be enough heat to evaporate the water from the very first time you put it in the frying pan, as well as not enough heat to really burn them instantly. Since onion have a lot of sugar inside, which is the dextrine converts into dextrine, which means you change the basic flavor of the onion from spicy, sour, acidic to sweet. This is what it's all about. In French cooking, we use the technique quite a lot. If you maybe think about the French onion soup, it's pure onion, but it's extremely sweet, but it doesn't contain any sugar whatsoever. This is only because the onions get caramelized without sugar at a medium-high temperature for such a long time, so they change the flavor to this kind of state. And obviously the cognacs also help to make it really, really taste good. No? Very sorry, I'm not so familiar with this equipment. Just give me a minute. Alright, so the pigeon is almost done. What we do is we take it out. Like I said before, if you eat it immediately, you can leave it like that. It's not a problem at all. We're probably going to eat it immediately, so I just leave it on the side. I don't take it out from the plastic yet because I want it to infuse a bit longer. For the caramelized pearl onions, you just need olive oil, normal oil will do. Whatever makes you happy, whatever you like to eat. If you have any allergies or anything, please do not stay away from all these kind of oils you don't like to eat or you're allergic to. Just because it states in the recipe, you have to use this. Please use whatever oil you're comfortable with, whatever you can find, whatever makes you obviously feel good. So we put some olive oil in. I like to use olive oil because it has not really much flavor. It's very subtle and it doesn't change in any way. The only problem you have with olive oil, you cannot heat it up too high. It has a very, very low smoking point. So you gotta be careful if you roast a fish in olive oil, it's gonna burn very, very fast. And you have a very bitter taste which you don't want. So we are almost there. This is the sound you want. When you put something in the frying pan, it shows that the water is gonna evaporate very, very fast. So what you do is you just keep the frying pan or the sauteuse or whatever you'd like to use in a moving state. You don't take it away from the heat too far because you drop the temperature of the frying pan and then it takes just far too long. So all you want is to caramelize it without sugar, like I said before. Give it a very, very nice subtle flavor. Then we use some thyme again. And garlic. I like to crush the garlic. I don't know if you noticed. I like to crush it. I don't like to dice it or slice it too much because it changes the flavor. When you crush something like lemongrass, you get the etheric oils out of it. The flavor changes drastically. It's the same if you would do it with bay leaf. If you cut bay leaf with a knife or if you cut it with scissors, for example, it changes the flavor. If you cut it with a scissors, it goes more into an apple flavor. If you cut it with a knife, it goes more into a juniper berry flavor in terms of on the tongue, basically. So it depends what you're making. Obviously, this is for home cooking is as important as for professional chefs or professional cooks. If you want to accomplish something more into this direction, do it that way, you accomplish it. You want it to taste in that direction with juniper, more into the gamey kind of side, not into the sweet one, then you use a knife. Or you just crush it. Then I add the garlic and the thyme. And always some sea salt or some salt from the very beginning. What it does is it takes out the water from the product, and it seasons it from the beginning, and the flavor changes as well. If you season something last minute, which you would do on fish, for example, all you can taste is salt. For us in the restaurant, this is what we're trying to stay away from actually, because you want to taste the raw product. You want to taste the onion, but the pure onion flavor. You don't want to taste just sea salt. And when it has a nice color like this one, I'm not sure if you can see that. Like that. This is what you want all around the onion. Obviously, it takes a bit of time. It also depends if you have a Tefal frying pan which is coated, or you have like this one, a stainless steel one. It depends on your stove you're using, how strong it is. Then, once you have the desired caramelization on the onion, you just deglaze it or fill it up with a bit of port wine, let it reduce, or Madeira. Okay, then you deglaze it with the Madeira. And you reduce it all the way down until the entire wine is completely evaporated. And then you caramelize it again with the wine, because you get the natural sweetness of the wine, and it gives you a nice color as well. Since this is reducing, I will go back to the pigeon. Just take it out from the plastic bag. And now we have a very nice poached pigeon on the side, and what we do, we just kind of roast or saute the skin from it to make it crispy, because we want to serve it medium rare. You have red wine? Red wine? Sorry. Please do eat once it's still warm, otherwise it's a bit chewy if it becomes cold, so please do not wait for me to finish, because that will take a while. Thank you, sir. To saute the pigeon, I just put a very, very little amount of oil on it, because obviously the skin of the pigeon is very, very fatty, and it will release the oil from the skin. And if you put too much oil, you kind of deep fry it, and that defeats the purpose of having such a beautiful cut of meat. So for the pigeon, we wait until the frying pan gets hot again. If you can see. Okay, now the frying pan is hot. You just drop it in on each side. Press it down slightly, just to get it straight and even, so it doesn't curl up, and you get a nice and even caramelization on the skin. Just like that. As for the puree, like I said before, I did a bit of future travel and I got the puree just from 10 hours from now. Didn't know if you noticed, but thank you very much, I appreciate that. So what we do is just to heat it up. Here obviously I have my parsnip milk. Here I have my parsnip puree. All we do is we just kind of emulsify it back again, just to heat it up. And then we're almost done. I did the Pigeon a bit in advance because what we usually do in the restaurants or in any kind of professional kitchen, you cook the meat and you have to let it rest. You have to let it rest. It depends on the size of the meat and which temperature you cook it in, but usually between 3 to 5 minutes. All it does is it just, when you put something in the frying pan, it releases the oil, it releases the blood, it releases everything, the flavor. So what you want is, it kind of, the muscles expand and contract at the same time. So when you take it out from the frying pan, they're like this, and then you just want to relax the meat in a way. Once you eat it, it's going to be very, very nice and smooth to eat. This is sometimes also the problem when people go out and you have a steak and the chef or whoever is in charge of the thing, and it's a very, very fast restaurant, the meat gets very tough, or it seems to be very tough. It's actually probably cooked and everything beautifully, but the problem is that they didn't let the meat rest for too long, or they just rush it for some odd reason. And that could happen a lot, especially in Singapore. We have that problem that since it's an Asian country and steaks and such is not really something they like to cook or they know how to cook very well. They're amazing in their style of cuisine, please don't get me wrong. But with Western cuisine sometimes it's a bit of a problem, so it's just something on the side. As for the show plates,